Okay. So, we are discussing about uh, fundamentals of laws and ethics. Uh, in previous class, we discussed the basics. I mean, syllabus structure and the marks allotted to each topic, and also we covered major portion of ethics. Correct? I hope most of you attended the previous class. Most of you attended the previous class. So please, all of you take your material. Please, all of you take your material. Dear students, I hope all of you are having the material with you so that we can directly get into the topic. So without wasting the time. And my voice is clear, right? For all of you, my voice is audible. Okay. So in previous class, we discussed up to uh, people, planet, environment, profit, and I explained the meaning also. So the next topic, that is last topic, is need for business ethics. In previous class itself, we discussed about ethics, then what is business, then what is business ethics, all those things. Why there is a need for business ethics? Need for business ethics arise due to lot of reasons. So they have given some reasons. We simply go through those reasons alone. We will not discuss much about out of world, out of box thinking not required. What is there in the book, we will just try to complete that first. Okay. So business ethics is currently a very prominent business topic, and the debates and dilemmas surrounding business ethics have attracted enormous amount of attention from different quarters of organization and society. Hence, it has emerged as an increasingly important area of study. Some of the major reasons why a good understanding of business ethics is important can be stated as follows. Dear students, you can get a lot of 1 mark since it's an objective type question. So do not miss each and every page. Okay. In previous class itself, I said it's around 8 to 9 pages only. You have around if you read 1 page, you will get around 3 to 4 marks. So don't leave it anything. Try to cover everything perfect. Try to cover 100%. Okay. This is very easier than your +2 exams. Okay. So, but unless if you are putting the proper effort, once again. I'll read the first point. Stop business malpractices. If there is a good ethics, it will definitely reduce the business malpractices. What is malpractice? Malpractice is what? Misguiding the customers. Lot of malpractice, black marketing, like telling lot of lies. That is also a black marketing. Artificial high pricing. simply increasing the price without any reason. Like if you see the mask, initially it is around 20 to 25 rupees, and later on it is regulated. You can get the mask around less than 5 rupees also, because now it is regulated. Adulteration, mixing something, mixing water in milk, that is like an adulteration. Cheating in weights and measures. Normally these things will happen at what you can say, normally this vegetable market, all those things you can always see there will be fluctuation in the weight. Okay. Selling of duplicate and harmful product. Yes, of course, duplicate products, duplicate branded products like that. Lot of online cheating or cheating is happening nowadays. They will tell that this is highly costly watch, something like that, but actually that will be cost around 100 or 200 rupees. So like that, there will be many manner of cheating. All these things are related to business malpractice. If you have a proper ethics, you can control this business malpractice. Okay. Second point, improve customer confidence. If the company is ethically compliant, means that will improve the customer confidence. I will buy in that particular. For example, X, Y, Z, all are selling same product, but I will always prefer Y because they are ethically compliant company. Their ethics are they have a very high standard of ethics. So when I, as a customer, I will always prefer Y compared with the X and Z, because I like Y because they have a very good ethics in their company. So that means that the confidence is increasing to the customer. Business ethics are needed to improve the customer confidence about the quality, quantity, price of the products. The customers have more trust and confidence in the businessmen who follow ethical rules. They follow that such business will not cheat them. Okay. Survival of business. If you don't have proper ethics, you cannot survive at all. First year you will make profit. First year you will make huge profit, or first year you will do lot of cheating. What will happen? Your goodwill and brand will automatically get demolished. Your name is spoiled. Your business is spoiled. Your image is spoiled. So no other customer will not repeat to come to your company. Customer will not come again to your company because your brand is already lost. Because you are not an ethical person. You did adulteration. You did high pricing. You did false promotions. You did black marketing. Because so you are losing the business. That is why survival of business. If you don't have ethics, it is very difficult to survive. Got it? Business ethics are mandatory for survival of business. The businessmen who do not follow it have a short-term success, but they will fall in the long run. This is because they can cheat a consumer only once. After the consumer will not buy goods from that businessman. Will also tell others not to buy from that businessman. So this will defame his image and provoke a negative publicity. This will result in a failure of business. Therefore, if the business do not follow ethical rules, they will fail in the market. So it is always better to follow appropriate code of conduct to survive in the market. Okay. Then what? Fourth point. Fourth point is safeguarding consumers' rights. Safeguarding a consumers' rights. What is this safeguarding consumer rights? Consumer rights, yes, of course. If the company is properly complied with the ethics, means then that consumer is having more right. They can ask a lot of questions. They can ask their rights, like if there is a warranty claim, they can go and claim that warranty. Or else if they have a doubt in the product, they can again go visit and ask the shop, and they can ask their doubts. Or if they want to service the product, they can go and visit and get service the product. Likewise, they can expect a good quality. So safeguarding consumer right, meaning consumer sovereignty cannot be either ruled out or denied. Business can survive so long it enjoys the patronage of consumer. The consumer has many rights such as right to health and right to health and safety, right to be informed, right to choose, right to be heard, right to redress, but many business do not respect and protect these rights. Business ethics are must to safeguard these rights of the customer. The consumer health is important, safety is important. You have to inform the consumer. You have to give option to consumer. You should not say you should purchase. This is the only product I have. If you want, you purchase. Otherwise, leave it. You cannot say like that. You have to provide options to the consumer, and right to be it. Whatever the consumer questions asking, you should be able to answer that. Right to redress. If the consumer is having any problem, you have to redress those complaints. That's how it is. Okay. Protecting employees and shareholders. Protecting employees and shareholders. Yes, of course, if the company is highly ethical, then they will not leave their employee as it is. Then they will not misuse their employee. Then they will treat their employee properly. They will give proper promotions. They will give lot of incentives. They will give lot of recognition to the employees. Then employee will be happy. Okay, then ethically they will follow all the rules and regulation, PF, ESI, insurance, gratuity, all the rules is followed properly by the company. Definitely, then it is a protection for an employee if they follow ethics means. And shareholders also. I'm getting money from shareholders. Shareholder is investing in my company. I'm using their money only. I should be an ethical person so that shareholder money is properly utilized. That's why protection of employees and shareholders. Business ethics are required to protect the interest of employee, shareholder, competitor, dealer, supplier, etc. It protects them from exploitation through unfair trade practice. Good. Develops good relations. If you have a proper ethics, you can develop good relation with all your stakeholders. Stakeholder means whoever, shareholder, government, creditors, debtors, tax department, all these fellows, employees, all these fellows are stakeholders, important person for the company. I can develop a good relationship with my customers first. Business ethics are important to develop good and friendly relation between business and society. This will result in a regular supply of good quality goods and services at low prices to the society. It will also result in profits for the business, thereby resulting in growth of economy. Yes, definitely. All these things are very, very general points. It's not very technical or it is not very related to subject core. It is a very, very common business general knowledge points. Anyone can understand these points. Creates good image. If you have a proper ethics, definitely your image is increased. That's why they said create good image. Smooth functioning. 8th point is smooth functioning. What is the smooth functioning? If I have proper ethics in my company, I have an operational policy, how to operate my company. I have an operational policy. I have an HR policy, how to take an employee. I have a HR policy. I have a purchase policy. If I want to purchase, I will follow purchase policy. Like that, I will have policy for all the areas because I am an ethical company. I am an ethically compliant company. I will not simply do the things informally. I will do everything formally. Okay. So if I have proper ethics, then my business will get run smoothly without any trouble because I have a very good control. I am governing. I have a good corporate governance in my company. So my business will run very smoothly. So what they said here, if the business follows all the business, then the employee, shareholder, consumer, dealer, and supplier will be happy. So they will give full cooperation to the business. This will result in smooth functioning of the business. So the business will grow, expand, and diversify easily and quickly. It will have more sales and profit. Yes, definitely. Consumer movement. So consumer movement. Business ethics are gaining importance because of the growth of consumer movement. Gone are those when the consumer can be taken for right by the unskilled by business by their false propaganda and false claims, unfair trade practice. Today, the consumers are aware of the rights and well informed as well as well organized. Now they are more organized and cannot be cheated easily. What they are saying previously and all seller whatever they say they want they will do it. They will sell the fake product. They will do lot of cheatings. That is previous. Nowadays, consumer is having more rights. They are aware about their they are very much aware about their rights and duties. So you cannot cheat the consumer easily. So it is like a consumer movement. Consumer only is the decision maker now. So if you are an ethically followed company, then there will be a good consumer involvement in your company. Okay. So next, consumer satisfaction. That is customer satisfaction. Consumer is customer satisfaction. Of course, if ethics is there, definitely there will be customer satisfaction. Simple. Then importance of labor. Definitely, if I am an ethically followed company, I will not overuse my labors. I will not I will not ask them to work for more time. If they are working for more time, then I will pay the wages as per the Labor Act properly with the bonus, with some what you can say, with the extra amount I can pay them. Okay, with double salary like that I will pay them, because my company is ethically followed company. I will provide a good working condition to my employees. I will provide proper sanitation facilities, and I will provide proper canteen facilities and health facilities, hospital facilities. All these things I will provide if I'm an ethically followed company means. Then healthy competition. Definitely, if all are following an ethics properly, that means they are doing business with a proper control, with genuinity, with what you can say, with following. There should be some what you can say gentlemanship in the business. Actually, there should be always a gentlemanship in the business. That gentleman should be followed by all the companies. If they are following now, then there will be a good competition between the companies, because all are ethically compliant. Healthy competition. The business must use business ethics while dealing with the competitors. They must have a healthy competition with the competition. Healthy competition brings about efficiency, break compliancy, and leads to optimal utilization of scarce resources. If I am having a proper ethics, then I will utilize my resource properly. That's what they are saying. Okay. So with this, the theory part of ethics is over. That means we covered 30 marks. Within one class, we covered 30 marks of the syllabus. I hope all of you had some good idea about this topic. Whatever I discussed, I hope all of you are able to guess, think about my discussion. Correct? You're able to guess and think what I am discussing. That is very understandable manner only, na? You are not feeling very tough or something like that. So, because ethics is generally a general knowledge topic, common sense topic. It's not that you should have some special knowledge. It's an common people topic. Anyone can discuss about ethics. Anyone can discuss about business, na? You need not to have special qualified person to discuss about business. Okay. So I hope around some 50 students are present. All of you present and listening the classes. It's not that simply we are putting the attendance. Correct? Because here there is no restriction. It is totally your choice. If you want to learn, you can learn. This is not school or college. No attendance is required. This is a professional body, professional class. So the choice is yours. I'm always ready to help you, all of you. So what I will do is little bit of 1 mark also we will go through from this ethics. Little bit of 1 mark also we will go through. Even if we cover this 1 mark, that itself 90%, 80 to 90% of your syllabus is covered. But what I suggest is work out from the suggested answers, work out from the RTP, revision test papers, work out from the PT, what you call RTP, PTP, yeah. RTP, PTP, suggested answers, model question papers, mock test, work out from everything. This is not MTP, yeah, MTP, RTP. So all these TP you should be working out again and again. Okay, it is not only the book material. Material itself you can expect around 70 to 80%, definitely. Balance 30 to 20% only you have to get the help from this RTP, MTP, all those things. Suggested answer, past questions. Okay, repeatedly do it. You can even secure 100 out of 100. Even it is possible to secure 400 out of 400. because this is 1 mark. If you put answer correct, or if you, two things one happen, correct or wrong. If it is correct, they will give full mark to you. So 400 out of 400 also possibility is there, because syllabus is very easy, and pass percentage is also good at foundation level. So use this opportunity. So what I will do is little bit of 1 mark we will go through. I'll directly go to the fill in the blanks. Directly go to the fill in the blanks. So the study of ethics is divided into dash operational area. How many operational area? Meta ethics, normative ethics, meta ethics, normative ethics. I think four areas. Don't look at the answer. You have to think. If you don't know the answer, then try to get into the topic and identify. Don't directly look at the answer. What is the answer from all of you guys? Just tell me. Study of ethics is divided into. But if you copy from directly answer, don't put the answer. By nature, if you are able to tell, please tell. But don't copy paste. Don't do copy and all. Four types. Okay. 4 types is correct answer. I think it is a meta, normative, and what else is it is there in the first page. In the first page. Where is first page? See here. 4 operational areas: meta ethics, normative ethics, descriptive ethics, and applied ethics. So that is the answer. What about second one? The word ethics is derived from what? Word ethics is derived from what? Think yourself. Word ethics is derived from, it is derived from maybe Greek or Latin normally. But what is the word? Latin, okay. But what is the word? Greek or Latin is not a thing actually. Greek or Latin is not the question. Question is, what is the name as per Greek? What is the name for ethics as per Greek? What is the name for ethics as per Greek? Ethikos. Ethikos is the name. Is there in the material? Is there in the evaluation of ethics la irukanum nenikren. Ethikos. See here. Root word in Greek is ethikos, which means character. Yeah. So next question. Ethics has evolved with the evaluation of what? Ethics means what? We have some principles, culture, all these things, rules, regulations, beliefs, discipline. That is about ethics, correct? Ethics has evolved with the evaluation of what? What is evolving? Business is evolving. When business is evolving, ethics will not evolve. What will evolve? Maybe ethics related to people, ethics related to behavior, ethics related to discipline, ethics related to culture. Then it should be ethics as evolved with the evaluation of society. Ethics has evolved with the evaluation of society. Okay, that is the answer. Fourth point, the relevance of ethics is in its, what? This is very general question. What is the answer? The relevance of ethics is in its what? Principles. Yes, of course. Good. How ethics is evolved? Based on the principles. That should be the answer. Principles or application. We will see. We will see the answer directly. What is the answer? Application. Good. Good. Application is the correct answer. In its application. Good. Fifth point. It is difficult but not impossible to conduct strictly honest business is famous quote by who said? I think said by Mahatma Gandhi ji. Mahatma Gandhi said something in this topic. I read somewhere. Mahatma Gandhi only said something. I don't know about others. Huh? So definitely Mahatma Gandhi will be the answer. Law is a dash of ethics. Part of ethics. Law is a part of ethics. What we can say, or what is the answer we can put? Law is a part of ethics. Yes, of course. Law is derived from ethics. Law is derived from ethics. Codification. Yeah, derived means it is codified. Law is codified from ethics. Ethics only is converted into law. Part of ethics is a very general answer. Technical answer is codification or codified. Okay. Then seventh question. The study of ethics is a dash science. Study of ethics is an applied science. I think so. Study of ethics is an applied science or what science? I think applied science. What is the answer? Any guess? Systematic science. Study of ethics is a systematic science. I might be wrong because I'm guessing the answer. Okay. We will see. Study of ethics is systematic science. Good. I guessed my own answers. Okay. Systematic science. Good. So study of ethics is a systematic science. Just remember, you should use your +2 memory power here also little bit. Ethics is also known as dash philosophy. Ethics is also known as dash philosophy. Any idea? Ethics is also known as dash philosophy. Moral. Yes, of course. Ethics is related to moral. Moral only converted into ethics. Na? Previous class we discussed a lot of things related to moral. Previous class also we discussed about lot of things related to moral. So moral. Good. Dash is the study of business situation, activity, and decision where issues of right and wrong are addressed. Dash is the study of business situations, activities, and decision where issues of right and wrong are addressed. If you study something, then your business, who is right, what business ethics is the study of business situation, activities, and decision where issues of right and wrong are addressed. Of course, if you have a proper ethics, definitely you should know what is the right of consumer, what is the wrong of ourselves. Good. Business ethics is the answer. Corporate ethics or business ethics? Corporate ethics or business ethics? Corporate ethics. Corporate is little bit specific. Corporate or business, both are correct, but if institute says corporate, then we will take it corporate ethics. Corporate is part of business only. Corporate is from business only. So if it is a corporate ethics, then we will take it corporate ethics. Yeah, it is corporate ethics. Then what else? Corporate ethics or business ethics? Because 9th and 10th answer only corporate ethics, na? 9th answer what it is? Ninth is business ethics. Good. I am asking about 9th only. 9th only I'm discussing na. 10th I did not even discuss. 10th business ethics also called as corporate ethics. Okay, business ethics also called as corporate ethics, but the main thing is business ethics. Another name for business ethics, maybe you can say corporate ethics. Corporate means company normally. Corporate means company. Business means it includes individual, partnership firm, LLP, all other things also. So multiple choice question. What I suggest is all these things you can try yourself now. It is not a problem. I hope you can handle this 1 mark yourself. Only the meaning explanation is very important. That I explained already. I think you can handle yourself this 1 mark and all. You please take care of this 1 mark. Now, concept is important. Knowledge is important. Understanding is important. Okay. All these things are very important. Sir, what I have to do? What I have to do just to pass the exam? Pass the exam. Why you are studying this course, man? What is the use of passing the exam? You should learn and apply in examination. You are not here to get only 40 mark, 50 mark. It is not like that. You should not think like that. Okay. You should think how much you learned, how much area you learned, and how much you applied. For that you will get good marks. It is not like that you have to pass the examination. Up to school only 10th pass, plus 2 pass and all. Here it is like you are qualifying, not passing. You are qualifying for that level. Okay. So don't think that simply you want to pass the examination. That means you are limiting the learning. Sir, many answers for choose are wrongly given in the material. MCQ la 15 and 31 same, but different answer. Please explain. 15. Dash is a set of principles and expectations that are considered binding on any person. I am reading the 15th question. Dash is a set of principles and expectations that are considered binding on any person who is a member of a particular group. Particular group is having some set of principles, and they have to obey that principles. Then what you call that particular group? Code of conduct is a set of principles and expectations that are considered binding on a person who is a member of a particular group. Code of conduct or code of ethics or code of practice or any of the above. Code of ethics, code of practice, any of the above is also a correct answer. We will see what is there. 15th, what is the answer? 31. Set of principles and expectations that are considered binding on any person who is a member of a particular group is also known as code of ethics. 15th 31 code of ethics செட் ஆகும். பார்க்கலாம் என்ன சொல்றாங்க 15th 31க்கும். 15th A code of conduct correct. 31 A. 31 A code of ethics. That is your doubt. Set of principles that are being considered as a group of member of a particular group is known as code of conduct is the correct answer. We will see. Code of conduct only normally we have to use in such case. At the absence of code of conduct, you can utilize code of ethics. That is my suggestion. At the absence of code of conduct, you can use the code of ethics answer, because code of ethics is not 100% fit answer, 100% correct answer. Code of conduct is the 100% correct answer. Code of ethics is like an alternative answer. You got it what I'm saying? It is an alternative additional answer. Okay. But you can even search from the material. What they said inside the material. While reading our material fully, there will be definitely that point will be available here and there. You just go through that point where what is mentioned in the inside the material. Code of conduct is given in the material. Yes, of course. Code of conduct is the right word to use. But if code of conduct is not available, then code of ethics you can use. Even if code of ethics is not available, code of conduct is also not available, then if code of practice is available, then use code of practice. Sir, now Institute said we only write for 100 marks, that is 50 MCQ each 20 mark. Then how many MCQ we may get from ethics? Whatever it is, you know the percentage, na? What is the syllabus percentage? Syllabus percentage, you know, right? From each topic, how much mark they should ask, that is given, na? That you apply as it is. Percentage you apply simply. 30% you can expect. You cross check with previous question paper also. 30% maybe 29%, 28%, sometimes 31%, 32% also they will ask. What else? Sir, for each MCQ, it is necessary to go to the material. Definitely. See, totally you have 100%, 100 pages only in this. If you go through this topic, na, this material, this might be looks 196 pages, but actual book is 100 pages only. Actual book is how much? 100 pages. Balance 96 pages, you will get a lot of 1 mark, this thing. For that it is spent. But exactly you must be having around 100 pages. Okay. Exactly, maybe plus 100. Assume it is an 100 page. Then how many marks you have totally? You have 100 marks, na? You have 100 marks, correct? That means if you are reading 1 page, you are getting 1 mark. So don't ignore. Don't try to go to the question pattern directly. Don't try to go read the MCQ book directly. Don't try to read the suggested answer directly. Don't try to read the MTP directly. First read the material. Then go to the 1 mark. That is the best way to learn. And you also have time, na? July 23rd only exam is announced. Now we are in April only. April to May, May to June, June to July. 3 months is there. You can read 10 times at least. Each subject you can read 10 times in this 3 months. That much time you have. Compared to with your plus 2, this is nothing. Very simple. Got it? So first learn the subject, then think about the exams. First learn the subject. Whether you are able to, same percent only will be available for MCQ also. That is what I am also assuming. If what is given in your this thing, the same thing only they should ask. Suddenly, if they are asking in a different manner, then I am not responsible. Whatever is given in the material, they have to follow. Whatever given already, they have to follow. There will be minor difference. So we will move to the next topic. So 30 percentage. 30% of your syllabus is completed, and Mr. Batmanaban is already discussed most of the topic in Indian Contract Act. That means 40%. For example, he covered 30%. Out of 40%, 30% assume. 30 plus 30, 60% of syllabus is over already. Okay. So we will cover the Sale of Goods Act, which is around 20%. Sale of Goods Act, which is around 20%. That we will cover now. So Sale of Goods Act 1930. This is the second study note 2, and around 20% mark is covered in this topic. This is little bit related to rules and regulation, but full and full logic. The Sale of Goods Act 90% logic, 10% only this rules and regulation and all will come. So it is again a common sense topic only. It is a common sense topic which is applicable to all the public. It's applicable to everyone. Whoever lives in the country, everyone it is applicable. It is not like income tax. It is not like a contract act. It is not like any other act. Negotiable Instrument Act. It is not like a Negotiable Instrument Act. It is a business. It is a business. It is an act which is related to people. It is an act which is related directly to business, not to any specific area. Okay. Hello. Okay. We will continue. I was in call. So Sale of Goods Act, it's again a common sense act, applicable to general public. It is applicable to everybody. So no need to think very technically, legally. You have to think practically. What is, as a customer you have to think, as a seller you have to think. Okay. So Sale of Goods Act. Sale of goods. What is goods generally? What is goods generally? Goods. Any idea about Goods Act? You give example for goods. What do you call as goods? Goods. Good. Good guys. Tell me about goods. Assets which business regularly deals with. Product. Good. Material we purchase. What about others? It's a product which we have to sell. Good. Then what about others? What about others? Goods you don't know. Very simple na. For goods you can tell answers. Merchandise. Tangible current asset. Good. What about others? What about others? So goods, whatever the thing can be used for this merchandise purpose. Merchandise purpose or consumable purpose or for production purpose or for processing purpose, anything processing, manufacturing, consumption or personal use, whatever it is. Okay, that all these things, physical presence should be there for goods. Normally, physical presence should be there. That is called goods. Okay, because you can tell me scenario, you are just going for an barber shop, or if you are a girl, then you can say beauty parlor. So you are going there and getting what actually? You are purchasing goods or what you are getting? There, what type of thing you are getting? Service. What about others? You are going for an beauty parlor for a beautiful makeup. Are you getting a goods over there or what you are getting? Service you are getting. So that also we have to think. So that is the difference between goods and service. Both are business. Both are business. Both are customer. But in case of goods, that is the some unique characteristics of goods. Okay. Even though both service is also a business, goods is also a business, but that is the difference. That is why it is called goods and service tax, GST. All of you know GST? All of you know GST. Whatever the product you are purchasing, in everything you will find GST. That GST, why they name it as a GST? Because in India, you can divide the business into two categories. One is manufacturing and another one is service. If it is a manufacturing, it is covered under goods. If it is a service, then it is covered under services. That is called goods and services. Goods and service tax. Okay. So this is the small example. We will get into the topic now. We will get into the topic, Sale of Goods Act. Why there is a Sale of Goods Act? Whenever I am selling, that is seller is selling to buyer. Okay, during this scenario, there should be some control. There should be some control, because otherwise ethics will not be followed. What is the sale of goods? It's nothing but ethics. Law is a codification of ethics. Just now we studied. Law is a codification of ethics. So ethics only is converted into law here. Sale of goods is nothing but it is an ethics. When I am purchasing some goods from someone else, there should be some ethics. There should be some law. There should be some rules. Why? Because otherwise he will cheat me. Otherwise he will try to cheat myself. Got it or not? So how to prevent the customer rights and duties? How to prevent the buyers and sellers rights and duties? How to protect the consumer interest? For that, Sale of Goods Act is there. How to protect the buyer and seller interest? For that, Sale of Goods Act is there. In this, we will study what is sale, what is goods, and who is buyer, who is seller, when is sale is happening, when it is treated as sale, when it is not treated as sale, who is responsible for what, how they are responsible, when sale is completed, when sale is started, when sale is ended, what is agreement of sale, all these things we will discuss. This is all these things are practical things. All these things are related to practical. Practical means practical scenario, all these things will apply logically without our knowing, without our intent. We don't know that is a law, but we will apply it. Okay, we'll get into the topic now. So all these paras, whatever the pages, I think we are starting from 97 to it ends with 107. That means only 10 pages. 10 pages, 20 marks. That means each page is having 2 marks. Each page is having how much marks? 2 marks. See, if you are studying one page, already you are getting 2 marks. This is a good deal only, na? Then why are you going for 1 mark MCQ, RTP, MTP? That is next step. First step is reading the material. Try to understand maximum from the material. There will be some areas where you cannot understand you will feel difficult very much. That you can ignore. But 90% at least you have to cover the material properly. Then you go to the 1 mark. Then you attempt the 1 mark from the MTP, RTP, all those substances from that topic. Okay. So we'll go to the topic. Before the enactment of Sale of Goods Act 1930, Sale of Goods Act 1930, remember, Sale of Goods Act which year? 1930. That is also a 1 mark. Sale of Goods Act which year? 1930. That is also a 1 mark. Relating to Sale of Goods Act 1930, relating to sale and purchase of goods were regulated by the Indian Contract Act 1872. In 1930, Section 76 to 123 of the Indian Contract Act 1872 was repealed, and a separate act called the Indian Sale of Goods Act 1930 was passed. What they are saying now, Sale of Goods Act came from only 1930. Before Sale of Goods Act, what happens? Before 1930, what happens? Before 1930 also there is a Sale of Goods Act is there, but it is covered under Contract Act. Section 76 to 123 of Contract Act deals with the sale of goods. But after 1930, what they did now, separate act they created. See, 90 years old now. 1930, we are in 2021. It is around 91 years old act we are reading. Actually, it is more than 90 years because it was there before 1930 now, because Indian Contract Act itself it is there. But at least a 91 years old law we are reading. All this should be renovated. It is not renovated yet. It should be updated. It should be modified. Okay. So Indian Sale of Goods Act 1930, which is nothing but the Indian Contract Act 1972. It is a part of Indian Contract Act 1972, Section 76 to 123. But after 1930, they created separate act called the Sale of Goods Act. Okay. This is the law introduction. This is related to law introduction. Come further. It came into force on 1st July. This also you please remember. It came into force on 1st July. This also you remember, please. First July 1930 only it is came. With the effect from 22nd September 1963. The Indian was also removed. See, first it is Indian Sale of Goods Act. During 1930, what happened? This is called Indian Sale of Goods Act 1930. But 1963 onwards, they removed the Indian. They removed the Indian and they included as a Sale of Goods Act. Okay. This act extends to whole of India. Whole of India, including maybe Jammu and Kashmir. After introduction of Article 371, this might applicable to Jammu and Kashmir also. Article 371 only, na? What is Article 371? Article 370, sorry. Article 370. Article 370 is implemented in Jammu and Kashmir. All for whatever the rules applicable to other state is applicable to Jammu and Kashmir also. That means this might be applicable to Jammu and Kashmir also. So third para I am reading general knowledge point. General point. Sale is the most common transfer in business affected by contract of sale or to sale. It is the only transfer. Sale is the most common transfer in business affected by contract of sale or to sale. It is the only transfer in business which non-reversionary, which means the goods will never be transferred to seller. It is called absolute transfer. What they are saying now, sale is a general thing. It is happening everywhere. Okay, actual sale or contract to sale is happening, and also it is non-reversionary. They are saying non-reversionary means what is the meaning now? I sold some goods to X. I am a seller of vegetable. I sold tomato to X. Tomato taken the delivery and is going to home. Suddenly I am going back to X. I am saying, give me my I will not accept. I'm asking a question, small question. I'm just selling a tomato to X. He given the money to me. Not audible. Audible na. So what I'm asking is, I'm selling a tomato to X. X is given money to me, and X is going to home. Suddenly, what I'm doing, I'm going running behind the X and asking, give me my tomato back, and take your money back. Whether X will accept or he will not accept. Just asking a question to you. Will not accept. Will not accept. He should not. He won't. Will not accept because it is already sold. Good is already sold. That is called non-reversionary. That is called non-reversionary. Okay. So we will continue further. You want break or for some 5 minutes, or I will continue. Okay. So then you take a break. 5:35 is the time. We'll meet around 5:40. Okay, we will continue. Sir, please tell foundation exam date. You don't know what is the foundation exam date. Even I don't know exactly. It's available in website na. 23rd July. One of the student mentioned that 23rd July is the foundation exam. Okay. So we will get into the topic, basic concepts. Basic concepts means basic rules, basic regulation, basic act. So under that, buyer means a person who buys or agrees to buy goods, which means the person already bought the goods, or else he is saying, I will buy your goods. Like that, not orally. Agrees means written. Orally, nothing is agreed here. Oral things ignored. Only in writing with the signature is accepted. Orally, someone is saying something is not accepted. Seller. Seller means a person who sells or agrees to sell goods. Similar to buyer, seller. So a person is selling and he will say, I will sell. I will sell means he will not sell oral. He will not tell orally. He will write and give. I am putting an agreement with you that I will sell these goods. Whether section also we want to learn for exam. Not so, not required. But better learn na. Section also you will learn. You are very young only. You have a very good memory power. Section number also you remember better. If something is given in highlight, then definitely learn that. Highlight. Something is given in highlight, definitely learn that. Highlight. See, it is given in bullet points. It's given in bold points. So you can learn section 2, subsection 1. Okay. Section 2, subsection 13 is seller means a person who sells or agrees to sell goods. Delivery. Delivery means voluntary transfer of possession from one person to another. Delivery in the sense I am just delivering the goods to buyer, from seller to buyer. That is delivery. That's a voluntary transfer. No one is compelling. It's a voluntary in the sense as per agreement you are transferring. Goods. This is also very, very important definition. Goods means every kind of movable property. Goods means every kind of movable property other than actionable claims and money. All type of movable property. Bike, mobile, car, bus, aeroplane, t-shirt, ready, whatever the thing. All the things are movable property. But not money. I have 100 rupees with me. Then I cannot sell this 100 rupees. I'm telling to you, I have 100 rupees with me. Okay, please buy this for 500 rupees. It's not an. It is not a goods. Okay, and also actionable claims. Actionable claims cannot be transferred to someone else, like a promissory note, loan document. That is not a goods. Okay. And what is included in goods and includes stocks and share. Stock is a goods. Of course, I'm selling daily. I'm trading in stock market. I have a good shares. I have listed, I have a, what you can say, I have a class A shares with me. I have Infosys shares with me, TCS shares with me. I'm selling, when I'm selling, someone is purchasing as an opponent. That is also a goods. And growing crops, that is also a goods. Rice, wheat, all these things is a goods only. Grass, this animals are eating grass now, that is also a goods, that is also you can buy from market. Teevanam, what you can say, Teevanam, grass and things attached to or forming part of the land, that is also a goods. You are selling one flower pot to the customer, then that is also a goods. You are selling one teak wood tree as it is attached with the land, that is also a goods. You are selling mango tree to the customer, that is also a goods, which are agreed to be severed before sale or under the contract of sale, which are agreed to be severed before sale or under the contract of sale. Okay. So then what? Fifth, document of title to goods. It is like an ownership document and content. What are the material available in the particular delivery? For example, I'm selling something. I'm selling something through courier. They will have some list of list of goods. That is called document of title to goods. Like professional courier, you will have receipt na. When you are getting the courier, you will have some bill with you. You will have or you don't have. Whom should be delivered? When should be delivered? Name will be there na, recipient name, address, phone number, everything will be there na. It is like a document of title to goods. Similarly, here it includes bill of lading. It is like an transport document. While transferring the goods through the road transport, this thing will come. Dock warrant related to shipping industry. Warehouse keeper certificate, finger certificate, railway receipt, warrant or order of the delivery of goods. All these things, anything related to document, even an invoice is related to document of title to goods. Invoice also related to document of title to goods. There you will have a buyer, seller, address, buyer address, seller address, GST number, quantity, price, rate, description, sign, signature, delivery date, everything will be mentioned in the invoice. Then that is also a document of title to goods. Okay. Finger certificate. It is like related to shipping industry only, where there will be some person in godown, similar to railway receipt, finger certificate. Finger is like an related to shipping industry. What is finger exactly? 1 second, I'll tell you. Finger. Wharf means it is the place located in the ship actually. Okay, it's a place located in the ship only. If you keep any goods there, then it is called a finger certificate. Then next page, future goods. What is this future goods? Today I don't have the goods with me. I have to manufacture here onwards only. After taking the production only, I will manufacture. Agreement to sell, not sale agreement. Future good is related to agreement to sell. I am putting an agreement that I am going to make a production, then I will sell. For example, apartment construction is a future good or present goods. I am putting an agreement with real estate agent. Builder, I am going to put an agreement. What agreement? He has to construct an apartment for me. Then it is a future good or present good. Presently, I have a building with me. Presently, I am able to see the building. I am not able to see the building. It is a future good because after agreement only you will start construction. Foundation, ground floor, first floor, second floor. Then it is related to future goods. Okay. Then price. Price, price means the money consideration for a sale of goods. Actual consideration. Price means what is the actual consideration for that particular goods I am receiving or paying. That is price. Property. Property means the general property in goods and not merely a special property. Property means a goods is a property only. Goods is a property only. Property means you should not think it should be a fixed assets. Property means you should not think it is only a fixed assets. Here it is not applicable. Property means here a particular object, particular thing is also a property. Okay. Specific goods. It means goods identified and agreed upon at the time of contract of sale is made. Specific goods only you are saying out of you went for an shopping and you bought a beautiful dress, colorful dress. Okay, and you are specifically saying I want only light green, which I like very much. Same type of dress, same type of material, same type of chudidar, different colors, but all are same design, but only color is different. You are saying specifically I want light green chudidar, then that is a specific goods. That seller should sell that light green chudidar to you only. He will not say it's already over, brown is available, blue is available, dark green is available. He should not say like that. He has to say specific goods means specifically that only I want. That is specific goods. Okay. And he is also agreeing, you are also agreeing for that sale. Definition of contract of sale. Definition of contract of sale that I am reading now. A contract of sale of goods is a contract whereby the seller transfer or agrees to transfer the property in the goods to the buyer for a price. Contract of sale is nothing but seller is selling the goods or agreeing to sell the goods. Selling the goods means now itself is sale, he is making sale. That is one type. Another type is he will say wait for some time, we will put an agreement, I will make production, then I will sell. Then that is called agreement for sale. For what purpose he is selling? For some money. That money is called price. What once he paid, once he received the money, what he will give? He will give a property. Property means he will transfer the goods to the buyer. That is called property. Transfer the property in the goods means nothing but that object. Bike, mobile, car, bus, train, whatever the object, that is a property. That property is transferred from seller to buyer with for some price. Okay, that should be a reasonable price. That is called contract of a sale. Contract of a sale means presently I am selling or agreement to sell, both is included. Presently I am transferring or agrees to transfer. Selling means transfer. Okay. Contract of sale is a generic term which includes both sale as well as agreement to sell. Contract of sale includes two things. One is sale and another one is agreement to sell. Sale means already the possession of goods rights is transferred to buyer. Possession of ownership is transferred to buyer. Ownership is transferred to buyer already. But in case of agreement to sell, just now I am started constructing the building. After completion only I can transfer the ownership. Presently it is not possible. That is the difference between sale versus agreement to sell. Okay. So what is mentioned here? Where under a contract of sale, the property in the goods is transferred from the seller to the buyer. Where under a contract of sale, the property in the goods is transferred from the seller to the buyer, the contract is called a sale, also called agreement of sale. See, they are just telling the meaning for sale. What is the difference between sale and agreement of to sale? In sale, it is the goods is already transferred to buyer. Goods are the ownership, whatever the manner. Ownership is already transferred, rights is already transferred, goods is already transferred. both is already signed in the document. That is sale. But agreement to sell, we will read the second para, where the property in the goods, legal ownership of goods is to be transferred. Is to be transferred means not yet transferred, yet to be transferred, because wood is not available, ma. Goods is not available. It is yet to be prepared. It is yet to be produced. Okay, where the property in the goods, that is legal ownership of goods, is to be transferred to the buyer at some future date or in the fulfillment of certain conditions. The contract of sale is called as an agreement to sell. If it is transferred in future, okay, yet to be transferred with some future date, with some with the price, with some condition, is called an agreement to sale. Agreement to sell is called as conditional sale. Agreement to sell is called as a conditional sale. What condition? We are putting an agreement. What agreement? You construct the building first, then I will make payment to you. After delivery, I will make full payment to you. That is the agreement. That is the condition. Because wood is not ready. Goods is a future good. Okay? That is what required. So next para, where an agreement to sell provides that the ownership of goods shall be transferred at some future date, it becomes sale when the date arrives. If the ownership is to be transferred on the fulfillment of some condition of the agreement, to sell becomes a sale when those conditions are fulfilled. So what they are saying is, again they are repeating the same thing. When the agreement to sell becomes sale, that's what they are saying. When the agreement to sell becomes actual sale. When the agreement to sell becomes actual sales. When it becomes actual sales, when you are delivering the goods, it becomes actual sales. Or else there will be some condition. If you are matching that condition, if you are able to satisfy that condition, then we treat as a sale. For example, buyer is selling. I will buy only after using your goods for 7 days. I will buy means I will, if anything is happened within these 7 days, you have to take your goods back. I'm not ready to buy your goods within 7 days. First 7 days, you have to give me an option to return. Got it or not? After 7 days only, it becomes sale, actual sale. Okay. I hope all of you able to understand my discussion. Okay. So I am continuing. Essential elements of contract of sale. Elements means main part, main content, main features, main characteristics. All these things are alternative meaning for element. What is the main features? If there is a sale, definitely there will be one buyer, there will be one seller. Then only sale is possible. Correct? That's what they said. Minimum 2 parties, seller and buyer. Subject matter, there should be some goods or services. Subject matter means there should be a goods or services. That is subject matter. Okay, that is subject matter. Think there should be something. Why there is a seller and buyer? There is a good which they are going to sell. Transfer of property. Good is there, but whether you are transferring or not, whether goods you are transferring or not, that is transfer of property. Transfer of ownership rights. That is called transfer of ownership rights. That is absolute ownership. That is absolute ownership. Okay. They are saying some general property. Transfer of ownership rights. That is absolute ownership. Okay. Delivery. Definitely. I should receive the goods now. At some point of time, I should take the goods with me. That may be presently or 1 day later or 1 week later or 2 weeks later, depends on the agreement. Delivery you can't get immediately. I want immediately, it is not possible. When you apply on Order online, it will take maybe up to 1 week it will take. Price, definitely there will be a price. Without price, there is no sale. Got it or not? Then it becomes gift. If I'm giving something without price now, it becomes gift. It is not covered under Sale of Goods Act. Then sixth point, a contract of sale may be absolute or conditional. Absolute means without condition, or conditional also. Conditional means I am putting some condition. Okay. Then essential elements of a valid contract. Essential elements of a valid contract, definitely. Differences between sale and agreement to sell. Now tell me, what is the difference between sale and agreement to sell? Now tell me at least one difference. What you understand? What is the difference between sale and agreement to sell? Any one example you give me, any one features you tell me. What is the difference between sale and agreement to sell? Sale and agreement to sell, product is available or not available. In sale, product is available. Agreement sell, agreement ownership is yet to be transferred under agreement to sell. Happens now is sale, happens in future is agreement to sell. Okay. Then any other answers? Ownership transfer immediately in case of sale. Ownership transfer immediate, yes, in case of sale. But ownership in case of agreement to sale, only after goods is available, maybe it might be transferred. Good is not ready, then ownership may not be transferred. Okay, all your answers are agreeable. I will go to the actual answer. See, in case of sale, the property transfers from seller to buyer immediately because property is available. Agreement to sell, the ownership of goods is transferred to buyer at some future date. Yes, because good is not available, first of all. It is an executed contract, already executed. Executed means what? Transferred. It is an executory contract, agreement to sell, meaning yet to be delivered, yet to be transferred, yet to be produced, yet to be manufactured. That is an future oriented executory contract. It creates right in REM. It creates right in REM means against a thing. It creates right in a product. REM means thing. It creates right in product because product is already transferred. Product is available readily. It creates, I have a buyer is having right in product because he already bought the product. Here it creates right in personam. Persona means person because product is not available now. Then I don't have right over the product. I have right over only person, opponent person. I can question them only. Opponent person I should ask because product is not available. I don't have any right in product because product is not available. Okay. So the buyer is responsible for any loss or destruction of the goods, even if the goods are in the possession of the seller. Yes, of course, because I made a sale to you. What happened suddenly? You made a sale, sale of some goods. For example, vegetable. You already sold to the vendor. Vendor said, "Sir, keep this vegetable. I am keeping this vegetable for some time. I am going to temple. I will come and collect later." Suddenly, what happens? One domestic animal cow is walking over there, and suddenly what happened? The cow eat all the vegetables from the vegetable shop. Then who is responsible now? Seller is not responsible because he already sold to buyer. Buyer is not taking the goods delivery. Cow eat the vegetables. Then you can't ask the buyer seller now because buyer already bought the goods. That is his responsibility to take the goods. He went to temple. That is his problem. Got it or not? That is what they said here. Then fourth point, the seller is responsible for any loss or destruction of goods, even if the goods are in the possession of the buyer. The seller is responsible for any loss or destruction of goods, even if the goods are in the possession of the buyer. Because agreement to sell, na, seller is saying, sir, simply use these goods for 5 days, sir. If you like, then we will put a agreement. If you like, then I will make a sale to you. If you don't like, then leave it. That is also possible sometime. You use the goods first. If you like, then we will put a contract and everything. Buyer will use for 3 days. Then he will say, I will not like. Or it is a damaged goods, I don't want. Even buyer will damage the goods. But buyer is not responsible because he did not bought the goods at all. He is just using for sample basis. For the demo purpose, he is using the goods, seller goods. Then seller only responsible. Okay. Fifth point. The seller cannot resell the goods because it is already sold. It is already sold. So you cannot resell the goods. But in this case, the subsequent buyer taken good fight and for consideration he gets a good title. The original buyer may only sue the seller for damages. Sometimes what will happen now? For example, property sale. You take property sale. I put an agreement with someone called X that I will sell this property to you in future. Not now because construction is going on. For 100 lakhs, I am going to sell this property to you, to X, assume to X. Suddenly Y is coming. Y is asking, I will give you 120 lakhs to you. You sell this property to me. Because property is not ready now, just now you are constructing. He is giving only 100 lakhs to you. I will ready to pay 120 lakhs to you. So please sell this property to me. Then buyer can, cancel the agreement also. Whatever he did with X now, he can cancel also. And refund the money, whatever the money collected from him, he can refund and he can put a new contract with Z also. That is also possible because goods is not available, yet to be manufactured, yet to be constructed. Okay. Sixth point, if the goods are destroyed, the loss will be borne by the buyer, even though they may be in possession of the seller. Of course, that is already discussed. The same point is repeated again. So I am leaving that point. Seventh point I am going. If the buyer becomes insolvent before payment is made, the seller has to deliver the goods to the official receiver unless he has lien on them. What happened now? Buyer paid the money, bought the invoice. Buyer paid the money, bought the invoice to seller. Buyer paid the money to seller, but seller is not delivered the goods. But buyer, what happened? Suddenly he got accident and he died. Do you think seller should be silent now? Because buyer is already died, is no more available. We will not sell this thing because buyer is not available. Do you think that is possible? Do you think that is possible? I'm asking. Buyer is no more is available. He is already died. But I got the money from buyer. I'm a seller. What I should do now? Tell me. I should leave that or I should do something else? Just share your views. Just share your views. Any idea what I should do? Leave that. You got the money now from buyer. Invoice also you delivered to buyer, but buyer died. What to do? What to do? If buyer transfer to legalers, good. That should be the correct answer. Buyer wife will be there. She will come. She will come and ask, my husband money only. He paid already. Give that product to me. Because already sale is made. Okay. Seventh point. Seller may refuse to deliver the goods to the official receiver. Yes, of course. In case of agreement to sell, building itself not constructed. Your person is already died. He is not paid any money to me because payment is not received. After construction only he will pay. But he died now. Then I will not construct. Okay. Point 8. If the seller becomes insolvent after payment of price, the buyer can claim the goods from the official receiver. This is another scenario. I paid the money to seller. I am living in a good condition, but the seller died. After receiving the payment, seller died. Then I should keep calm, or then as a buyer, what I should do? I should be keeping my mouth calm, or I have to do something else. I have to find the seller's legal error. Sir, I gave payment to you the person who died now, but he is no more live. So you refund that amount to me. To legal error of that seller, there they have to ask. Sir, that seller guy did not deliver the goods to me, but he bought the money from me. He got the money from me. He did not deliver the goods to me. So you refund the amount. I can ask from the seller's legal error. Seller's wife I can ask. Seller husband I can ask. Okay. So like this we have to study. Like this we have to study each and every point. You should not mug up. That is why I studied each and every point. Okay. Now I'll go to the definition of goods. Again, same thing what we discussed above. The same thing is repeated. What is goods? Anything is movable, but actionable claims and what else? Actionable claims and money is not a goods, but shares, stock, tree, grass, growing crops, things attached to farming, part of land, everything is goods only. Example, they are given something where the trees were sold, that they were to be cut out and separated from land and taken away by the buyer. The contract of sale of trees as a movable goods. They are cutting the tree and selling. Then that is a goods only. That's what they said. Okay. Then come to next point. Type of goods. All these things are important. Each and every subject page is important. I completed just only 1, 2, 3 pages only. So types of goods. Existing goods. Existing goods means what? Presently I have in my hand. That is existing goods. I have presently in my hand. That is existing goods. Future goods. I have to make a production year onwards only. I have to construct the building year onwards only. Okay. That is future goods. Contingent goods. What is contingent goods? Contingent goods. What is the contingent goods? Contingent goods is like, may or may not happen. I have to produce 100 tons of rice from 1 week. One acre of land. I have to produce 100 tons of rice from 1 acre of land, or else 100 acre of land. I don't know. I am not a farmer, so I don't know exactly. So assume from 100 acres of land, I have to produce 100 tons of rice. Can I give guarantee today to my customer? I have 100 acres of land with me, and definitely 100% I will produce 100 tons of rice. Can I give guarantee? And I will give guarantee like this also. From October, November, definitely there will be a good rain. I will get a good rain in my area. I will get lot of water. There will not be any water shortage. I will do good irrigation. I will do good agricultural activity, and I will definitely produce 100 tons of rice. Is it possible? Any farmer can give that guarantee. I will make sure that rain is coming on my land. The rain is pouring on my land. I will give guarantee. Like that, any agriculture can give guarantee. Yes or no? Tell me. No. Because it is a contingent goods. We don't know what will happen. We don't know what will happen in future. Okay. Now come back to the existing goods. Existing goods, let 3 categories: specific goods, ascertained goods, unascertained goods. Specific goods means I want this one only. I want only chicken pizza. You have a lot of pizza. You have veg pizza, that pizza, this pizza, whatever the thing. But I want only chicken cheese pizza. If you don't have that, then leave it. That is specific goods. You got it or not? Ascertained goods. Ascertained goods is like I am going for a purchase. I am going to purchase a table. They have a 10 types of table. They have a 10. They have a 10 tables actually. 10 tables, same quality, same product. 10 tables they have. But out of 10, I will choose and I will select one. I want this one only because it looks strengther than other tables. But all are same product, same quality. Still, we will select one product because we have some belief on that. We like that particularly, and we will do a lot of quality testing by seeing down, up, whether any breakage is there. Like that, we will self-satisfy ourselves and we will buy that table. That is ascertained goods. Unascertained goods, you give whatever you want. I want one table, that's it. Out of this many tables, you give me one table. That is unascertained goods. You got it? So, understood up to this? Understood? So, existing goods, specific this future goods, contingent goods, all these goods we will discuss in our next class. Okay, page number 92 onwards we will discuss in our next class from existing goods. I hope this session is okay for you, and I'll try to make it more interesting in upcoming classes. We have a lot of time also. If institute permits, we can discuss a lot of things, and I'll try to cover this topic, try to complete this topic in next class. Okay, I hope all of you enjoyed the topic. If you have any queries, you always contact me personally also. I'll take some time. I'm just typing here my mobile number, put your messages, and at my own time I'll try to clarify. Okay, please give more importance to studies for just next 2 to 3 years only. This is very important, crucial time in your life. So after that, definitely there will be a different style of life you will definitely live. So for that, this is the foundation. So the CMA is the foundation. Please try to clear this in the coming attempt, June attempt. Don't take much attempts and all. Try to clear everything in first attempt. Okay, we will meet in the next class. All the best, all of you.